It is a low-domed building that allows the building to focus solely on the light and the simplicity of the structure, with all the living quarters in the center of the dome. Even the works of Ludwig Miles van der Rohe, famous for simplicity of form, was considered practical. But this idea of glass is truly my tipping point. I'm just utterly fascinated by it. Instead of heavy marble, people began to use more lighter and simpler materials such as glass and steel, seen in the modern architectural building, the Glass House, by Philip Johnson. The building is an essay in minimal structure, geometry, proportion, and the effects of transparency and reflection. Also, Charles Edmonds came up with the idea that you can buy all materials that you need for a house from a catalog, as seen in the architecture, the Edmonds House. This house is a landmark for modern architecture. Its designs were built to grow and change with the new occupants, while being much more affordable than any other house. Along with these modernistic ideas, international style is still thriving around the nation.
Okay, I can see where you're coming from, but I just can't stop thinking about famous buildings. Oh, by the way, I'm Anna.
Hi, Anna.
Okay, well, I don't know why I find this so fascinating. With all the industry being turned towards World War II, there were factories popping up all over the U.S. An example is the Detroit Arsenal tank plant. That's really close to us. The building was designed by the famous Albert Kahn. It was completed in 1941 in Warren, Michigan, and put to use as a manufacturing plant for World War II. Also, the Willow Run Bomber plant helped contribute to the production for World War II. The Equitable Savings and Loans building was an important structure in the history of modernist architecture. Completed in 1948 by Pietro Beluschi, the high-rise in Portland, Oregon introduced the idea of excessive windows. They were unopenable and double pane, just like today's modern storm windows. But the most important building of the 40s, by far, is the Pentagon. The architectural style of the Pentagon is stripped neoclassical, and the War Department needed a temporary solution to its critical shortage of office space. The designer's ingenuity not only created a building that reflected the architectural style of the nation's capital, but also saved enough steel to build a whole battleship. It was started in 1941 and designed by George Bergstrom. Another famous building I know all about is the Cranbrook Educational Community Buildings. Albert Kahn and Ileo Saarinen designed this building and designated it as an art museum and library. It is in Bloomfield Hills, and completed in 1942.
Wow, you guys really know how to live it up. I love architecture. I'm Kayla.
Hi, Kayla.
Housing's my thing. I absolutely love how World War II has caused houses to get smaller. When the war veterans returned home, there's a huge shortage of homes. The housing market produced speedy, cheap, simple homes that all look similar, like the tract home. We call this suburbia. Remember that term. Suburbia, small, simple homes platted out in great numbers along the street. I love photographing other people's homes. I mean, I know they think I'm a creep and stuff, but I can't help it. I love housing in the 1940s. Anyway, most of the homes started to have attached garages with symmetrical designs. Some had gabled roofs, like this one, how it's like this. And like this Detroit Cape Cod built in the 1940s. I'm so addicted to the 1.5-story houses like the Cape Cod and the bungalow. This bungalow right here from Detroit, built in 1941, has the #1 characteristic of an overhanging roof. Another one I just love is the ranch style, like this other picture I got in Detroit, built in 1948.
Well, I guess it's my turn. I'm Miranda.
Hi, Miranda.
It's not annoying. So as I was saying, I have a confession to make. I am obsessed with World War II art, especially the Navy. It's just so fascinating. In World War II, they sent 8 artists to work alongside with the Navy. And working in World War II, they produced over 1,000 drawings, watercolors, and paintings. And this is my absolute favorite naval artist. His name is Stanislav Backus Jr. He was actually from Detroit, Michigan. And then in May 1945, He was assigned to cover naval operations in Pacific as an artist. He said the Navy used artists because the Navy appreciates that the artist has the opportunity to convey to his audience a large sense of realization of a subject, rather than the photographer with his instantaneous exposures or the writer who lacks the advantage of direct visual impact. Here's some of his paintings. The first one is called The First Wave of Japan. It's painted in 1945 and it's a watercolor. It's about an attack on the Marines by the Japanese. The next one is In Line of Duty. This is one of my favorites. It really touches me. It's about a man who had just won a great victory fighting for his country in World War II, but unfortunately is currently losing his battle with cancer. That's really heartbreaking. This top one is called Garden at Hiroshima. In autumn. This painting shows the city of Hiroshima a week after it was bombed. And the last one is called This Was Hyuga. It was painted by Bacchus in 1946, and it shows a Japanese battleship, the Hyuga, run aground at Miro Bay. So can you guys all just see why I'm so hooked on this painting?
Okay guys, all this talk about the 1940s has really got me thinking. I must admit something. I'm addicted to the photography of the 1940s.
Oh,
It's all so real. I especially like the famous photographer Helen Levitt, who took pictures in poor people neighborhoods because they are richly sociable and visually interesting. Most of her photos show children's games and the errands and conversations of the middle class. I also love Louis Four, who is considered a quiet photographer. He was known for his raw, melancholy pictures of life on the streets. Of course, the famous photo of the Marines raising the U.S. flag on the crest of Mount Suribachi during the battle for Iwo Jima is a classic. It was taken by Joe Rosenthal and later became the only photo to win the Pulitzer Prize for photography. And last but not least, I certainly do enjoy Alfred Einstein's photo titled VJ Day in Times Square. It was taken in New York in 1945 at a celebration because the war ended, and it shows a sailor kissing a young nurse. He was actually kissing every girl he encountered, but this one happened to slap him afterward. Oh, well, sorry about that one, guys. Great meeting today. I'll see you all next week when we